Bob, tell us your story.
Got out of the Navy because of disability. Ended up going through a horrible divorce. Technically, I was married 9 years, 6 years active, 3 years divorce. And her attorney ran up a huge bill to screw me over. My VA claim was still pending on appeal. So they said that I didn't actually have any disability and I didn't have my other things going. So pretty much I was just twisting in the wind, homeless and dealing with shit. So the judge imputed income against me and set a child support order. And I've told part of the story before. Before the judge even said that, the state, my ex-wife had gone on welfare. So the state Office of Child Support Enforcement invented their own version of a child support order and never delivered a copy to me. They just said, we haven't. And they tried to get into my apartment and take my things to sell. And there was I confronted and I asked, isn't there something in the Constitution that says you have to have a piece of paper giving you authority to do that? And I was lucky that the sheriff told the support officer to go and get that. That was in 1991. I did not see my children from September of 1991 until May of 2007.
Wow.
In the meantime, I went through another relationship, had another child, went through another breakup. She went on welfare, and they threw me under the bus. That was in 99, 2000 timeframe. So the state of Washington employees decided that they wanted to be aware of the fact that I had Social Security, disability, and veteran benefits. Now, the veteran benefits were still not that much because the VA had not.
Stand by real quick. Stand by. Who in the background is fidgeting around? Because I can hear it.
Clickety click.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, continue on, Bob.
So the state of Washington Office of Child Support Enforcement said, well, we calculated you're up to date here in the child support order, and it's about $68,000 in arrears.
Wow.
To which they said, we're going to take half of your disability benefits to pay to repay the state. And I said, you can't do that. It's illegal. And they said, but we're going to do it because it's legal. And shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a lawyer. Have a nice day. And I made a stink. I went to congressmen. I went to the governor. I went to different people. And I said, hey, somebody needs to, enforce the law, due process of law. Come on, pay attention. And I got the runaround. They all sent me back to the same criminals who did this. So when I demanded that they repay me the $10,000 that they stole from me, the state of Washington took half of my Social Security by garnishment, leaving me with about $600 a month total to live on. Consequently, I ended up homeless. I went through a lot of difficulty because of that. And then when I finally got them to stop, I said, look, it's illegal. What you're doing is fraud. And they finally stopped in 2002. And I said, so give me back the 10 grand you took from me. And they said, well, that's child support. And I said, no, it's not. That's mine. And so my ex-wife got paid from 92 up to the thing. I said, well, wait a minute. She didn't get all that money over those years. She got a lump sum payment in 1999, $20,000 and change. So that counts as 1 month's payment. But we're going to say she got a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and do this and do that and flip the numbers around, and we're not going to give you any money back. So they had taken $10,000 from me, which compared to a lot of people is small chump change. But the fact is, for me, that was a hell of a lot of money because that is why I ended up homeless. And I went back and I asked everybody for help. Talked to the congressman, talked to the governor, talked to lawyers. Every lawyer I talked to said the same thing. You're an idiot for joining the military. You're an idiot for having more children you could ever afford. And you're an idiot for getting behind on your child support. Tough nuggies. And I said, wait, just a minute. The law says that these things can't be touched. They said, oh, Rose versus Rose. And they shoved it in my face. And I didn't know what else to do. So I backed off. Later on in 2012, I pointed out that disability discrimination is something we experience in this process. And I published on that. And it was a very respectful, very polite report on that subject. That's on my website. And then I went through a couple more episodes of my own health problems and didn't really think about it till I was volunteering, helping veterans, just kind of going to the different groups and hanging out. Was doing a homeless veterans event, and one of the guys that I'd helped before came up, and I found out he'd been living in his car in the state park because he had Social Security and VA benefits, and went through a horrible divorce. And they gave away half of his VA and half of his Social Security as alimony. And I said, that's illegal. And he said, yeah, but I don't know how to explain it to them. Well, the thing is, it doesn't matter what you explain to the state court. They don't care. They're financially motivated to continue converting your benefits into their paycheck.
Correct.
They say it's child support, but it's not. It's actually repayment of the state for the welfare money that the ex is living on. So they tell them, quit your job, take the kids, go on welfare, you'll be fine. You'll get lots of money. But that's not really where the money goes. The money they're taking from us is going into the state revenue under Title 4D.
Correct.
And this is where I want to get to. I want to get off of my story real quick. 1975, Congress said the number of children on welfare went up exponentially from 1961 to 1973. And a huge part of this was affluent men, doctors, lawyers, and whatnot, who were absconding on their children and basically taking care of child support or alimony. So Congress passed a law to lower the cost of welfare on the taxpayer, but more importantly, to coerce men into I want to say the language is that basically to punish men for having children on welfare, to use the collection system to discourage men from abandoning their children. It was written to punish men for having children on welfare. And this became the cash cow that the states live on because they just look at it as an opportunity. And as pointed out earlier, for every dollar that the state puts out in welfare payments, whether it's medical or dental or childcare, the state gets $7 to $10 back from the federal government as funding for the welfare system to cover their overhead, their employee costs, building costs, all of the expenses involved in running this system. So for every dollar they put out, they get that money. But when they come after the deadbeat dads, it's hard to get money out of a deadbeat, a drug addict, a dumbass, or a dead guy. They look at veterans and they say, hey, these guys have all this federal money coming in. We're going to take it. So here's a funny part. When they created this law in 1975 and 1976, 1977, they also created a point called Section 662. And in that part, it said veteran benefits for compensation and pension are exempt from Title 4D, unless you're a retiree who's exchanged benefit or exchanged retired pay for VA benefits. So they said veteran benefits have always been exempt. Anyways, I pointed that out and I got yelled at and everybody's been, just pushing me around. So I just started getting grumpy and published it on the internet and started asking the questions. And guess what? A few veterans have called me back and said, hey, now what do we do? We see that. What do we do? So that's why I'm here.
All right, man.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.